from bookreporter.com, and I'm here with Joseph Finder today. Why do you like talking about writing so much?
Okay, when I started off, when I decided I wanted to write a thriller a long time ago, I had no idea how to do it. There were no books you could buy on this. Well, there were books about how to write a novel that had nothing to do with writing a thriller, right? There was no internet. That's how long ago it was, remember?
Remember that?
And I had no idea what to do. And I didn't have any friends who actually wrote thrillers either. So what I decided to do was read a whole bunch of thrillers, like the best ones and some bad ones, and make notes about what worked. I sort of studied them, got a sense of that. So I taught myself. And I wish I had someone to tell me, don't do this, don't waste your time doing that, focus on this. So in a sense, I sort of think that it is the responsibility of a writer who has any kind of success to actually help other people. Because the idea is you kind of bring up the craft. We're not scorpions in a bottle, you know. We don't want to have everyone else, fail. We want to actually bring up the craft. The more talented writers there are, the more people buy books. So I basically feel that I'm telling people stuff I wish someone had told me.
And you actually are doing a newsletter once a month to readers that are wannabe writers,
Yep.
and actually talking to them about a different tip each month,
Yep.
different ideas, and also you're blogging about this on your site as well.
Yeah, and it's time consuming and maybe too much so, but my take is different from a lot of other takes. But that's because nobody tells a writer how to do his job. We all figure it out for ourselves. Just take the question of outlining. Do you outline a novel or not? I was on a panel with Lee Child, and we were asked about that. Do you do an outline? And I said, yes, I do an extensive outline and all that. And then Lee came out and he said, I never outline, not a word. I just start writing. And I got into an argument with him right there in public. You know, just being Lee, it was very, polite and well-mannered and all that sort of thing. But basically, we disagreed. He just said, after the conference was over, he said, Joe, you got to try it my way. I said, okay, I will try it. So this was before I started writing Power Play. I did it without an outline. And it was horrible. It was so hard because I wasted all this time going down blind alleys and writing scenes that didn't need to be there and not writing the stuff that needed to be there. And I realized Lee has written enough thrillers that he has an outline in his head. He kind of knows where he's going. I'm the kind of writer that I need to have a map. It doesn't have to be all the way filled in, but that's the way, if I'm going out for a drive, I want to know, I'm driving from Boston to Syracuse, I'm not going to just get on the road and start driving. I want to know what Google Maps says is the right route, and then if I veer off, it's okay because I know how to get back on. So for me, an outline is sort of like an anchor, not like an anchor, it's sort of like a life vest. It's sort of, I know it's there. I can diverge from it because I know what the basic skeleton of the story is. I also end up figuring out what the plot problems are up front. The plotting of a book takes more time than the writing for me. The writing I can do in 3 months. Plotting and research and outlining, that's often 6 months or more. So the short answer is every writer has a different way of doing it. And it doesn't mean that one is right, but one way will connect with you who's learning to write. And you'll say, I'll try it. And I might help somebody.
Do you know what's also helped me as a reader? Because when I have sat and heard your lectures and I've read what you've written, I look at the books a different way, and I actually look at the craft that's involved in the writing, which I don't really, you normally just go through and read a book.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at, wait, why did that happen? What happened? And I can dissect it a lot better, and I think that's the reason I found those conversations so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking about the process of writing with other writers, and they do too. Writers love talking about this sort of thing because it is something they're doing in isolation, they're doing on their own. Right?
Well, people say that being a reader is a very personal, lonely experience.
Right.
Being a writer and developing all these characters, really, is this good? Is this not good? Is this working? Is it not? You're alone and you know whether it's working or not.
That's right.
Sometimes.
Well, not always, I need to have, writing is, if you don't have any readers, as far as I'm concerned, you're not really a writer. You need to have readers. I'm not writing for myself. I'm writing to tell a story to a lot of people. And I can tell, I get emails on my website from people who respond to certain things or didn't like certain things. And for me, it's like focus group testing. These are very valid. These are very useful to me. I can get a sense from them what people really responded to, why they liked a certain character, why they liked a certain plot twist, what they didn't like about a certain way a book ended, and why. Now, does that affect the way I write? Yes. Because I am writing popular fiction. And I want to be able to tell my story to the largest possible group. It's something I struggled with in the early days, where, no, I'm going to write the way I want to write. No, I'm not writing literature. I'm writing pop fiction. I'm telling a story like a TV show or a movie to a mass market, and it makes a difference to me how people read it and what they respond to. Take the question, for example, of bad language. Okay? Should you use 4-letter words, bad language, in a book? Well, I have written a number of books in which, every word is there. Why? Because people talk that way. If you go in the business world, people in certain circles, not in public, but in an office, they can be quite profane. I wanted to record the way people talk, right? Well, I realized when my daughter started asking me about reading my books, I didn't want her reading that stuff. So I cleaned up my language. I wanted to write a book that she could read. And I started getting so many emails from people saying, thank you, you don't use these 4-letter words. I'm okay with that. If that means that a lot more people are comfortable reading it, and I can do it in such a way that it doesn't reduce the authenticity of the dialogue, then for me that's a victory. So I'm okay with cutting out bad words as a result.
Do you keep notes for future books? Do you have like lines? I hear a great line. It's here.
I will be, working out at the gym, and I'll be reading a paper, and I'll find an article and go, oh yeah, that's it. That's the next book. And I'll rip it out, and I'll put it in a file. I have a big file of ideas or notes for ideas. They're not all good. But if I look at it, a year later and it's still good, then it's a good idea. So to me, the problem is not ideas. I have a lot of ideas. It's actually getting the idea that grabs me at that time.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure being able to speak with you today and just get some more insight into who you are and who your characters are.
Thank you.